that the freedom to learn is the absolute most important thing. We must fight to the last ditch. Do you hear me? We must fight to the last ditch to keep open the right to learn. We are the adults in this society, and we need to surround our children with the help and the resources and the love that they need to be successful.
Let's give a round of applause. A lot of teachers are realizing is you've asked us to save these poor children. You've asked us to lift up these poor children, minority children. And what we're running into is a glass ceiling where I can only go so far with passion. I can only go so far with talented expertise and good lessons. I can only go so far because there's a societal problem holding me back. See, we don't have an educational crisis, we have a societal crisis. And so the last thing I want to share with you, until we replace data-driven accountability with data-driven equality in this nation, we're not going to fix it.
Sure. Good morning. First and foremost, it feels good to be in front of you and be able to say that I'm on the record with everything I say. Considering I was at the department for a couple years, and at the department I felt like the public narrative was all about the achievement cap and accountability. The public narrative was oftentimes about this global competition with India and China. And now that I'm back home, back on the streets, and back with my community, it's just a reminder that that public narrative, while it may be true or not true, is just not what we're dealing with on the ground every single day. I think that for us, it's very simple. It's about valuing human life, valuing human potential, and removing the barriers and obstacles that get in the way of making that potential possible. And that is at the very core of our work. It's at the very core of what this country is supposed to be based on, this notion of democracy. And until we put a human face back on this problem of public education not serving all students, if it's simply based on numbers and data, we'll never be able to move forward. We can have the best research. We can have the best ideas. We can have the best campaign. But our ideas and our campaign and our policies and our research will always be on the periphery unless we build power. And I feel like, for me, the single biggest lesson I learned in the little bit of time I was able to work and travel, but certainly reinforced back home in South Los Angeles, is that we have to build power. And I just want to take a second to think about the Occupy movement and the impact it's had on this country and the crossroads that the Occupy movement is at. It certainly has captured the imagination of the country. It certainly has had an impact on the public narrative, where when I was in D.C., the Tea Party took over and are slowly coming back to take their castle, right? Come to take their Congress, and they're itching to get their White House back.
Power is not conceded. It's not. We have to own and we have to take our power. And when I think about probably the most important part of the Opportunity to Learn campaign is their understanding that the power lies in the collective action of you. Those folks on the grassroots, at the grassroots level, coming together and making sure that we surround our students with everything from safety, making sure they go to schools where it's bully-free. We need to make sure they have health care. NEA was one of the leaders in the fight to pass our national health care, because we know that our children who come to our schools, if they are not healthy, they can't learn. If they don't have classes, they can't learn. If they're hungry, they can't learn.
And there's a clear mobilization. And for the first time now, we have a country that's mobilizing, pushing back, and says, you know what? Corporations are not people. The 1% needs to be held accountable for their corruption and for their greed and for their creation of inequality. And so what I want to take out of that page around what the Occupy movement has done is that we have to think bigger, right? And what I appreciate about the Opportunity to Learn framework is that we're trying to think bigger. But if the Occupy movement, or if we do not put power behind our rhetoric, we'll be continuing to have this conversation over the next 5, 10 years. For me, what does political power mean? How does it express itself? It expresses itself in several ways. One, if we can get 20 or 30 of our states to change its funding formulas and create reasonable, sound tax and fiscal policy that really hold the wealthy accountable and provide fair taxes and provide the resources that are affecting our communities, that's going to begin to shift the debate. Because we're not only talking about changing things, we're actually moving resources. But in order to do that, we have to build political power, we have to register people to vote, we have to build an apparatus, and we have to build the values base that brings all of us together, whether you're white, black, brown, yellow, Asian, middle class, and poor, to vote on the kind of issues that really matter.